This is the answers for I do, you do inequalities. Remember, we want to simplify these first, so I'm going to do leave, change, opposite. Distributive property, combine like terms, get all my variables on one side. Don't need any of that except for the leave, change, opposite. Then I'm going to analyze it for flip, not flip, or flip, flip. I like where the variable's at. It's on the left-hand side like I like it, but I will be dividing by that negative, so it's going to be a flip. This is a flip, so it will not be greater than, it will end up being less than. So I'm going to do this one with rainbow. There was this W. They took times -4, and they added 5, and they got 12. So I'm going to subtract 5 and divide by -4. Remember that dividing by negative is why we flipped it in the first place. So 12 minus 5 is 7. 7 divided by -4 is -7/4, or -1 3/4. And I'll just do number 2 while we're at it. Number 2 is the graph for that. So think about that. We have the variable where we like it. That means it's not filled in because there's no underline. This is just a less than, and we're talking about all the numbers less than -1 3/4. Second one, I'm going to do all my simplification again. Leave, change, opposite. I don't like where the variable's at. There's a flip. And I will also be dividing by a negative. There's a flip, flip. So this is a flip, flip, which means the symbol is going to go right back to where it started at as less than or equal to. But now the m will be on the left-hand side of the inequality. Okay, remember there's two reasons we flip. One, if the variable's on the wrong side. The right-hand side, we want it on the left-hand side so it'll match our graph. And also if we have to multiply or divide by a negative. So now let me solve this. I'll solve it with cancellation. So cancellation says they did this, then they did this, so I'm going to undo that. I subtract 3 and I subtract 3. That gets me 8 on this side. I still have it as less than or equal to. Those cancel out and I'm left with -4m. I divide by -4 and I divide by -4. Those cancel out and I'm left with an answer of -2. At this point, it would be -2 is greater than or equal to m, because remember we divided by a negative, so there's your first flip, so we flipped it once. Now I want to write it the other way with the m on the left-hand side and the -2 on the right-hand side, so I flip it again. It flipped back to where it was at the beginning. Let's go ahead and solve number 4, which is the graph for this. Since it is underlined here, then that means -2 actually works, so we fill it in. So -2 does work, and everything to the left of -2 works. Everything that's smaller than or equal to -2 is a solution. All right, we have another inequality here. Let's analyze it. Don't need to do any leave, change, opposite, distributive property, or combine like terms. The variables are all on one side, so we don't have any of the simplification, so we're ready to analyze this thing. I like where the variable is at. It's on the left-hand side. And I will be multiplying by a +9, so nothing changes here. So this is a not flip. I'm going to do this with rainbow this time. There was a D that they divided by 9 and they added 8 and that got them 7. So we're going to subtract 8 and multiply by 9, making sure you hit equals in between. So 7 minus 8 is -1. And -1 times 9 is -9, and then I go back and think, oh, I did not flip my symbol, it is less than. Our answer is D is less than -9. That means on a number line at -9, I'd put my dot, my circle, and I would think about whether it was underlined or not. It is not underlined, so I don't fill that in, and I'm talking about all the numbers that are less than -9. That means -9 is not a solution to this, but -9.1 is. -9 3/5 is, -11 and -14 and -200. Those are all part of the solution. Anything that is smaller than -9.